Today, David Cloudfelter, the county's interim budget director, will be providing information to you about the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget development process. After this presentation, we will be opening up this meeting for you, the public, to ask questions and provide input to next year's budget. We'll be doing our best to answer all your questions today, but if we cannot, then your questions will be forwarded to the appropriate county staff for a response. We will use the contact information that you have provided when you registered to respond back. We have staff taking notes of this meeting, and this meeting is also being recorded so that we could document your priorities as stated by you. Now we will begin the presentation. David, please begin.
Hello, my name is David Cloudfelter, and I am the Interim Budget Director from Miami-Dade County. Thank you for attending this public budget meeting. Today I will be taking you through the county's budget process, how the budget is developed, and the timeline associated with this process. Some of the topics that I will cover today are results-oriented governing, the budget development process, budget development timeline, the county's current year budget, the adopted budget book, and the countywide civic engagement initiative, Thrive 305. Now, before we dive into the county's budget, I think it is important to describe how the county is managed. Budgeting is only part of how the county delivers services. As we develop our budget, we need to know what services are important to residents and check to see if we are delivering what we said we would. So to make it all work, we use what we call a results-oriented government framework. The framework has three major components to it. First, we conduct strategic planning. This is a detailed process that helps us identify what is most important to our residents and visitors. It's long-term and gives us the overall direction in service areas such as transportation, human services, libraries and parks, public safety, and many more. Second, every year, departments prepare their business plans and budgets. These show how they support the priorities in the strategic plan and help make sure that we are all focused on delivering services in demand to our residents. Third, we all monitor our performance in an ongoing manner. This helps identify needed adjustments. We need to make sure we are delivering on our promises. And over time, as new challenges arise and priorities emerge, they become incorporated into future strategic planning efforts. The county strategic plan is a high-level document that lays out our service delivery priorities as defined by our customers, Miami-Dade County's residents. It is what helps us achieve our mission of delivering excellent public services that address our community's needs and enhance our quality of life now and in the future. It contains nearly 70 far-reaching goals and objectives that address priority needs across several different service areas, what we call strategic areas. Currently, the strategic areas are transportation and mobility, economic development, health and society, recreation and culture, neighborhood and infrastructure, public safety, and general government. We organize our budget books and other documents using these strategic areas. To give you a sense of what is in the plan, here are some sample strategic plan objectives. Provide reliable, accessible, and affordable transit service. Ensure an inclusive and diverse workforce. Promote livable and beautiful neighborhoods, and provide world-class airport and seaport facilities. Some of the departments that make up the major service areas are as follows. Transportation and mobility includes our transportation and public works departments. Economic development includes our airport and seaport. Health and society includes public housing and homeless trust. Recreation and culture includes parks, libraries, and cultural affairs. Neighborhood and infrastructure includes water and sewer, solid waste, and animal services. Public safety includes police, fire, and corrections. General government includes supporting departments such as elections, information technology, finance, and the Inspector General. For more information, please visit miamidade.gov/strategic plan. When we begin to prepare the budget, the first thing we look at is how the current year's revenues are materializing and how the department's spending patterns are to estimate how much revenue will be left at the end of the year. We then estimate what our revenues will be in the next year and what our current service level will cost. Based on the revenues available, we make recommendations as to what adjustments, if required, would need to occur so that we have a balanced budget to present to the Board of County Commissioners. Through this process, we ensure that the budget being developed is in alignment with the county's strategic plan. This year, we are reaching out earlier to ensure we hear from our residents as we formulate our next year's budget. The process timeline. As I previously mentioned, the budget process begins with estimating the revenues and expenditures for the next year. Starting in January, the departments begin to formulate their respective budgets, which are due in March. Also in March, the mayor provides her budget priorities to the community. After the mayor's address, our office continues to work with the departments, going through their budget submissions and finalizing the request. In July, the mayor will release her proposed budget. Also in July, the Board of County Commissioners will adopt the maximum millage rates for the county. The board cannot adopt a higher millage rate than what was set in July. In August, the property appraiser provides notices to all property owners on what their tax bill will be if the board adopts the maximum millage rate. In addition, the county schedules additional community meetings to discuss the proposed budget. In September, the Board of County Commissioners hold 2 budget hearings, both of which are public hearings. The board adopts the budget at the final meeting in September. The new budget takes effect October 1st. Out of every dollar the county receives, this is how it is directed to services. Public safety receives 31 cents. Neighborhood and infrastructure receives 21 cents. Economic development receives 14. Health and society receives 11 cents. Recreation and culture receives 8 cents. Transportation and mobility receives 7 cents. General government receives 7 cents, and policy and or administration receives 1. As noted earlier, of the departments that make up these major service areas are as follows. Transportation and mobility include our Transportation and Public Works Department. Economic development includes our airport and seaport. Health and society includes public housing and the homeless trust. Recreation and culture includes parks, libraries, and cultural affairs. Neighborhood and infrastructure include water and sewer, solid waste, and animal services. Public safety includes police, fire, and corrections. General government includes supporting departments such as elections, information technology, finance, and the Inspector General. The county's total budget is $9 billion. Over 1/3 is restricted to capital expenses and cannot be used for operating programs and/or services. Operating funds pay for day-to-day activities, and capital funds pay for multi-year projects such as construction of facilities and/or public improvements. Of the $5.7 billion operating budget, over half is restricted to self-supporting business enterprise services, which we call proprietary. Proprietary activities are fee-based activities which are collected separately from the user of the service. Some of our proprietary departments consist of water and sewer, solid waste, aviation, and seaport. The revenues that these departments generate are restricted for use within those departments. For example, we cannot use water and sewer revenues to pay for parts. The remaining $2.7 billion is tax supported. Tax supported refers to activities paid by taxes regardless of a person's use of the service, such as park and police services. Tax supported operations include the following jurisdictions. Countywide represents $1.722 billion, consisting of $1.438 billion in property taxes and $284 million in other revenues. The unincorporated area represents $514 million, consisting of $160 million in property taxes and $354 million in other revenues. The fire district represents $418 million, and the library district represents $79 million. As noted earlier, of the $9 billion total budget, $2.240 billion is supported by the general fund. The general fund is what we refer to as the accounting fund supported by ad valorem property taxes, license and permits, service charges, and other general revenues to provide countywide and unincorporated area operating services. Out of the services funded through the general fund, a majority are mandated by either federal, state, or local laws and agreements, or fund vital services to our community, such as police services, elections, medical examiner, etc. As noted in the pie chart, of the $2.2 billion in general fund expenses, approximately $2 billion is considered less flexible funding. These include services such as police and fire, debt service payments, payments to the county that the county must make to fund court services, funding the county's Jackson Hospital, funding our transportation system, etc. The more flexible funding consists of services that are not mandated by state or federal government or required by contract or agreements, such as park services, funding community-based organizations, general government services such as human resources, etc. It is not to say that these services provided with the more flexible funding are not necessary or important. They provide important support roles to county departments and/or vital community organizations. The county's capital budget for fiscal year 2021 totals $3.335 billion and includes 496 capital programs countywide. A majority of these projects require years of planning and construction, while others may be completed in a shorter time frame. The slides provide a breakdown of our capital program by strategic area. Examples of some capital programs include our public safety strategic area includes projects to construct new fire rescue stations. Police department projects include various infrastructure improvements at the Miami-Dade Public Safety Training Institute, where our officers train. The Transportation and Mobility Strategic Area includes projects for our Transit and Public Works Department to develop park and ride stations to expand transit connectivity for residents throughout Miami-Dade County, and road resurfacing, bridge rehabilitation, and drainage improvements, and other projects that are included in the SMART plan. The Recreation and Culture Strategic Area includes projects for the library system to construct new libraries such as Hialeah Gardens Library and the renovation of existing libraries. Projects in the Park and Recreation and Open Spaces Department includes ADA improvements to access parks, refurbishment of park facilities, and the development of various greenways and trails to improve connectivity throughout Miami-Dade County. The Neighborhood and Infrastructure Strategic Area includes projects for our Water and Sewer Department that updates the water and sewer infrastructure for today and the future. In the Health and Society Strategic Area, the Homeless Trust is constructing a second domestic violence shelter. The Economic Strategic Area includes projects for more connectivity to the port. The Regulatory and Economic Resources RER Department projects include Biscayne Bay restoration and shoreline stabilization to restore, enhance, and stabilize wetlands, shorelines, and islands adjacent to Biscayne Bay, as well as the purchase of endangered lands for conservation. And last but not least, the General Government Strategic Area includes projects for the Information Technology Department to purchase computer-aided dispatch systems that will replace the existing computer-aided dispatch for both fire and police. Projects in the Internal Services Department includes the construction of a new North Dade Government Center to provide more access to government services to residents in the north section of the county. Each year we publish our budget books that include the adopted budget. The books are also organized in the major service areas with departmental details. Within each service area, the departments have narratives that describe the services they provide, along with the revenue sources, expenses, personnel counts, and performance measures. Additionally, the budget ordinances approved by the board in September are also included. To jumpstart the budget process this year, the county is interested in hearing more from you. In conjunction with the Miami Foundation, Mayor Levine Cava has launched Thrive 305 this month. Thrive 305 is a countywide civic engagement initiative that will leverage Miami-Dade's biggest asset, its residents, through a survey and series of virtual workshops to inform the administration's action plan. This is a bottom-up, community-driven policy framework that will center on an equitable recovery and laying the groundwork for a thriving community. Thrive 305 activities include a countywide resident survey that is now open through the end of the day on Friday, February 26. This survey seeks input on a wide array of services, and your participation is encouraged. During the month of March, the initiative will host civic weekends, which will be town hall style virtual events to discuss the survey data and recommend ideas for the action plan. Then in April, Thrive 305 initiative will hold action plan workshops for community leaders and policy experts to collaborate with county staff to develop recommendations for the action plan. For more information about the Thrive 305 initiative and to participate in the survey, please visit miamidade.gov/Thrive 305. Thank you for attending this workshop. Please visit our website at www.miamidade.gov/budget. For more information on our budget, now I will turn the meeting over to the moderator that will take your questions and or hear your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for that presentation. As David mentioned, I will start now and begin the question and answer session of this meeting. I would like the public to know that to ensure that everyone gets an equal participation in this meeting, your speaking minutes have been limited to 1 minute. We have limited each speakers to 1 minute. We appreciate your understanding and cooperation with this request. With that said, can Grace Bracamonte please state your name and address for the record? Unmute your phone. State your name and address for the record, Grace.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Fabulous. All right. My name is Grace Bracamonte. I'm the Executive Director of the Parks Foundation of Miami-Dade, and my address is 3015 Southwest 105 Avenue. I want to thank you, Madam Mayor and County Commissioners, for your continued support of the parks here in Miami-Dade County. The Parks Foundation is a partner of Miami-Dade County Parks and a partner in promoting Thrive 305. The park system is more vital and more important than ever to the community since the start of the pandemic. Parks are essential for the physical and mental health and well-being of its residents. They provide equity and inclusion and have been a constant during the pandemic, serving as COVID testing sites, food distribution venues, and as the only accessible outdoor space for many. Parks provide a connection to nature and provide a stress reducer for the community. Please continue supporting one of the most valuable community assets, the great park system we have here in Miami-Dade County. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace, for your comments. They will be taken into consideration for next year's budget development process. The next speaker I have is Gerald Reed. Gerald Reed, please unmute your mic, state your name and address for the record.
Hello.
Hello, Gerald.
Hello.
You are on.
Okay. My name is Gerald Reed Jr., and my address is 1717 Northwest 65th Street, Miami-Dade, Florida, 33147. I am the Economic Development Chairman of the Model City CAC. I'm calling because we have recommendations for the Liberty City area. And I've put the details, since I only have a minute, I'll keep it brief, but I've put the details in an email to Ms. Carolina Acosta. And what we're asking for is inclusion in the economic development decisions that's going to be made by PHCD, Public Housing and Community Development, in the fiscal year 21-22 budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerald. Your comments and your request to have input or to prioritize the Liberty City economic development and PhD funding will be considered for next year's budget development process. The next speaker I have is Alyssa Delgado. Alyssa Delgado, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Hello there, good morning. My name is Alyssa Delgado. My address is 2015 Calais Drive, Miami Beach, Florida, 33141. I am the Senior Prosperity Coach Manager at Catalyst Miami, a nonprofit organization. I am speaking here as an advocate on behalf of asking the Commissioner and the Mayor please to consider more funds towards housing relief, and including those that are undocumented in Miami-Dade County who are oftentimes left out of the budget, and including consideration for better transit systems, including putting off payments for transit while the pandemic is still going on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alyssa, for those comments. We will note them and pass them along to the mayor as we deliberate for next year's budget. The next speaker I have is Beatriz Gonzalez. Beatriz Gonzalez, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you so much. My name is Beatriz Gonzalez, and my address is 6740 Bull Run Road, Miami Lakes, Florida. Madam Mayor, County Commission, I'm here to advocate for the life-changing impact that Lotus House provides to children and families in our community, urging that you allocate much-needed funds as we continue to shelter more than 500 women, youth, and children nightly, despite the increased obstacles and challenges brought on by the pandemic. In 2020 alone, we sheltered 1,354 women and children. Half of those were children. And of those 1,354, 99% experienced violence and trauma in their lives. many of them dating back to childhood. It is clear that children and families experiencing homelessness in Miami-Dade County need trauma-informed shelter and supportive services in order to heal and thrive. We know that homelessness is traumatic for everyone, especially for children. And as with children, parents vary in their response to homelessness. They possess a wide range of needs that negatively affect the well-being of children and the parent-child relationship. Our objective of creating and fostering a nurturing educational and social environment that truly places children
You're muted, John.
Apologies on that. Beatrice, thank you for your comments. They're noted for the record. We will make sure that the Lotus House and Homeless Trust or homeless priorities are prioritized in the budget. Next speaker I have is Camila Cabellos. Camila Cabellos, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I can hear you.
My name is Camila Ceballos. My address is 1212 Southwest 12th Avenue, Miami, Florida. And my only comment is that I see that the budget only has 7 cents per dollar for transportation. And now with everything that's going on, the new migration of tech firms coming to Miami, I think we need to really reconsider and prioritize transportation so that we can build an infrastructure that will connect the county to the city of Miami, as well as creating that east to west corridor that's really necessary. And also to consider how we are going to invest in our aging infrastructure for sewer. We really need to work on our water quality issues that we saw last year at the Bay. So I just hope that you guys consider that in the budget.
Thank you, Camilla. Your priorities or requests to prioritize funding for transportation, infrastructure, and the connection of East-West Corridor has been noted, and we will consider that as part of our budget development for next year. The next speaker I have is Catherine Christophs. Catherine Christoph, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Catherine Christophus. The address is 2430 Northeast 135th Street, North Miami, 33181. And I'm calling because I hope that our mayor and county commissioners can fully fund Miami-Dade Community Action Agency in Human Services to help the seniors, particularly with their rehab program for their homes. We have over 200 seniors waiting since 2017 to have this program funded so they can repair their roofs, repair their windows and doors, and have them stay in their homes versus having to be sent to a facility. So I really would like to see this program funded, and I want to see Mr. Liu be able to obtain federal funds as well as county funds to finally put it in place and start it this upcoming October. And also, I hope that we can keep our millage rate the same in the unincorporated area, because it's no time to be raising taxes during a pandemic crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, for your comments and your the priorities that you set. We will note that you want COSD Senior Rehab Program to be prioritized, as well as maintaining the UMSA millage flat. The next speaker I have is Christine Lyle. Christine Lyle, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record. Looks like Christine dropped. So I'm going to go to the next, we'll keep her in mind. I'll go to the next speaker. The next speaker I have is Constant Collins. Constant Collins, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
It's your turn, just talk. Just talk.
Go ahead, Constance. You're online.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Constance, we can hear you.
I can't hear them.
Hello, Constance. I hear
Okay,
you.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
It
Proceed.
seems
No
like we're
worries.
having technical difficulty on our end. We can't hear you. I just want to emphasize that 1 minute is impossible to do justice to the needs of homeless women and children across our community, especially in the time of this pandemic. An already vulnerable population, COVID-19 has exposed women, youth, and children to further dangers, including increased domestic violence, family violence, and homelessness. This past year, we sheltered a record 1,354 women and children. That's a 17.5% increase over the prior year. We also observed a significant increase in the percentage of those entering our shelter who had experienced domestic violence, namely a 37% increase in the number of children who had experienced domestic and family violence, namely a 45% increase, and in the number of traffic victims as well. We just want to emphasize the impact of the pandemic.
Thank you, Constance, for your comments. We will note them that you have requested priorities to be set for women homelessness and children homelessness and domestic violence. They will be considered for next year's budget. Next speaker I have is Deborah Spiegelman. Deborah Spiegelman, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Good morning, Deborah Spiegelman with offices at 980 MacArthur Causeway. I'm the CEO of the Miami Children's Museum. Madam Mayor and Commissioners, thank you for your support of the cultural community. I think we all know the importance in culture and the arts and maintaining a level of normalcy for children and families in our community. The Miami Children's Museum has pivoted, and we have provided our programming virtually to maintain a sense of connectivity for children and families. We are facing not only an economic and a health crisis, but also an education crisis in our community. Children are our future, and I think it's imperative that the cultural community be integrated and involved. I can tell you that our programming at the Children's Museum is shifting, and we're having even a greater focus on school readiness, so children are ready to learn. With the vast number of children out of school this year who have not had any connection, we think it's important, and this summer we're pivoting and providing a very educationally based.
Thank you, Deborah, for your comments and requests for support for the Miami Children's Museum and the cultural programs that are out there in the budget. I'd just like to remind the speakers and viewers that, again, we are limiting speakers to 1 minute to make sure that everyone has equal participation in this meeting. So please remember that as you speak. The next speaker I have is Derek Holmes. Derek Holmes, please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Derek Holmes. I'm speaking on behalf of Transit Alliance Miami at 169 East Flagler Street. I'm just saying that I'm asking you all to consider public transit and active transportation as priorities for the next budget. Between the implementation of the Better Bus Network and the mayor's upcoming pedestrian first plan and Chairwoman Higgins' priorities for the Transportation and Mobility Committee, we're very confident that transportation will be championed as the core issue in the coming year. We're just really looking forward to the 21-22 budget to also reflect that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Derek, for your comments, and they have been noted. I have the next speaker as Diana Passon. Diana Passon, please open your mic, state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Diana Passin de Góngora, 9030 Southwest, 56 Terrace. And my question is regarding solid waste as it relates to reducing plastic pollution and recycling. And I wanted to know if the county has prioritized to limit plastic pollution by enacting local legislation such as single-use plastic bans, the bans of plastic grocery bags, phone, food service containers and cups, plastic utensils, plastic straws, which are the prevailing plastic polluters nowadays. I know that the state has preemption law that is now being challenged once more by a bill on the state Congress, and I wanted to know if the county is going to support that bill. Also, I wanted to know if the county has any plans to standardize the recycling system for the entire county, rather than what we have right now, different programs for different municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. You've brought up some policy questions that our board potentially can look at and of course, move forward on. To your specific questions about recycling, what the county currently has on the books and their policy, we're going to forward your comments and requests to the proper county department, solid waste, so that they could provide a response back. We'll be responding back to the contact information that you've provided in the registration. The next speaker I have is Elizabeth Suarez. Elizabeth Suarez, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Suarez. I live at 2940 Southwest 107 Court 33165. I'd like to advocate for food and housing assistance that gives all residents agency. For example, residents don't need boxes of brought in groceries. They can do their own grocery shopping, give them vouchers. I would like an end to eviction loopholes. I want our renters to be protected who have month-to-month leases and not only annual leases. I would also like to be in contact with you to learn more details about the budget and if and how different departments like police and transportation put together their own budget before the mayor's budget. It was mentioned that a committee of community leaders is being formed to help shape the budget through action plan workshops. How are these leaders being identified and can they apply to be part of this committee? And lastly, who can we expect as future budget director if there's an interim budget director right now? Thank you.
Okay, let's start with, I think, your question for Thrive 305. We do have a representative from Thrive 305. Juan, can you please unmute your mic and address the question concerning the Thrive 305? Go ahead, Juan.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you and good morning. Your question was specifically about the action planning workshops and how folks are being determined and organizations are being decided. I will say that if you have an organization that you'd recommend for inclusion, the purpose of the action planning workshops is to make sure that we have expertise, and that expertise should be both sort of at a policy level, but also at a lived experience level. So if you have any specific recommendations on who ought to be included, please do reach out to us via the sort of means that were identified in this process. And we will consider your organization or your group for inclusion in that process, because we do want to make sure that it's as inclusive as possible to ensure that we have those perspectives.
Thank you, Juan. Elizabeth, as far as your other comments and questions, they've been noted, and we will take them and address them directly to you, those questions that you asked, and make sure that the priorities that you asked for funding have been considered in next year's budget development process. The next speaker I have is Gabriela Sáenz. Gabriela Sáenz, please unmute your mic, state your name and address for the record.
Gabriela Sáenz, address 217 Northwest 15th Street, Miami, Florida 33136. I'm here to advocate on behalf of the importance of the work conducted by the Lotus House Women's Shelter in addressing the needs of homeless women and children, particularly its therapeutic services. Currently, there's a historic 2.5 million children who are homeless. Children and families are the fastest growing group of people experiencing homelessness in the United States. Homelessness is a result of compound stressors such as domestic violence, neglect, substance abuse, and socioeconomic status, all of which have been magnified since the start of the pandemic. These children are extremely vulnerable and carry with them heavy trauma, not to mention the trauma associated with being homeless. There's an 83% of children at Lotus House that have experienced trauma. The children's services provided here at Lotus House have the biggest impact on healing and ending generational cycles of trauma, improving a family's quality of life, and preparing them for a brighter future. The commitment to end child and family homelessness is one that Lotus House has stood by for the last 15 years, and one that it hopes to carry on with your help. It is trivial that we receive funds in order to provide these life-changing services to our community's most vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriela. Your funding requests or funding priorities for the Lotus House and homeless women and children programs has been noted. The next speaker I have is John Quick. John Quick, please unmute your mic, state your name and address for the record. One more call for John Quick. John Quick. Okay, looks like John dropped off. We'll get back to you at the end of the queue. The next speaker I have is Patty Abril. Patty Abril, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Good morning, Patty Abril, 11226 Southwest 62nd Lane, Miami, Florida, 33173. I am here representing the Communications Department of the Miami-Dade County Parks, Recreation, and Open Spaces, and I am here to answer any questions that anyone may have regarding the Parks Department.
Thank you, Patty. Next speaker I have is Simone Hugh. Simone Hugh, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record. Simone, if you're there, please unmute your mic. Okay, Simone, looks like you dropped off. We'll try again. I'll go back at the end of the queue and see if you're still there. Next speaker I have is Trisha Carter. Trisha Carter, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Trisha Carter, and my address is 2016 North Hibiscus Drive. As Executive Director of Miami Dance Hub, a nonprofit organization for dance in Miami, I speak on behalf of all dancers and dance organizations in Miami-Dade County. The dance community would like to know how the final allocated budget amount for arts and culture is determined when last year's expenses and revenues are greatly reduced from the pandemic. We are curious what greater considerations are being given to the artistic community after a year of having our auditoriums, theaters, and stages closed under county mandate. We understand and support the public health necessity in staying home to stop the spread of COVID-19, but this should not negatively affect the arts and cultural budget in the upcoming year. Art is adaptable by nature and can creatively support any branch of government or public initiative. As development and stimulus strategy, the cultural budget should be increased and collaborative projects initiated by bringing the arts into public spaces, tourism, recreation, facility infrastructure, mental health, and public safety. Furthermore, there is a precedent for the arts driving economic development. The WPA program brought America out from the Great Depression by hiring artists for projects because it recognized the multiplied value of putting artists to work in the community. Art and culture are interrelated with all aspects of life, and we want to see this reflected in all aspects of the county budget. Thank you for providing a platform for county residents to speak up. I do hope our comments are heard by the mayor herself and considered by those in positions of decision-making.
Thank you, Tricia, for your comments. Yes, remember these meetings specifically have been put together at the direction of the mayor and her initiative to have more participatory budget involvement. As far as how cultural fairs or cultural programs are funded and the decisions, I leave that to my director to address.
Thank you, Trisha, for your question, your comments. As we're developing the budget for next year, we are definitely going to be analyzing the service level of cultural affairs and all the cultural programs. And we do realize, as you mentioned, the effect that these programs have on economic development. And that's of course taken into consideration. Thank you for your question and comments.
Okay, thank you, David. The next speaker I have is Ziana Alslus. Ziana Alslus, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, good morning. My name is Zaina Alsus. My address is 8920 Northeast 2nd Avenue, and I organize with the Miami Worker Center. Our members include tenants in Miami who are at high risk of displacement and domestic workers who are primarily immigrant women nannies, housekeepers, and home health aides. Care workers who make all other forms of work possible. The families we are in contact with have been devastated by the COVID evictions crisis, while low-wage workers, like most domestic workers in Miami, are simultaneously chronically impacted by wage theft and abuses on the job. We are asking the mayor and commissioners to fund urgent relief for renters, including undocumented renters, and funding for a pilot labor standards co-enforcement program in order to make sure every worker in Miami knows more about their rights and protections against wage theft, which is a project we are advocating for alongside the South Florida AFL-CIO and other worker centers like We Count. Thank you.
Thank you, Zania. Your comments and requests for additional funding for rental assistance and workers' protection programs have been noted and will be part of our deliberation for next year's budget development process. The next speaker I have is Genevieve Klaus. Genevieve Klaus, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Geneva Claus, and my address is 2001 Biscayne Boulevard. I have a few questions. I was also on the call on Tuesday, and my questions on the call on Tuesday weren't answered, so I'm going to ask them again. I have 3 questions today. My first question is, how are houseless neighbors being considered and their interests prioritized in this budget process? They often don't have the resources to join these calls, and so I want to make sure that they're being prioritized as well. I also want to know, it was mentioned before that how the leaders are being identified, and it was vaguely mentioned how to stay in contact. I would like some tangible things like an email address or something like that, how to stay in contact in the future. And also, how is equity being considered in the county's budget considerations this year? Our last question would be, how are items put into different budget categories, whether they're capital or standard budgets? Thank you.
Okay, Geneva, hopefully I could answer your questions. If not, you can reach out to us to the miamidade.gov contact information. As I mentioned before, we have note takers, and we're recording this so we could go back and review your questions. This is how I have them noted. You asked about how does the homeless or houseless folks are getting advocated in this budget process. This is the mechanism, or this has been established by the mayor as a way to get that message to in the budget development process. This meeting, along with the Thrive 305, are basically the way to communicate that through the budget process. So it's been noted, and we will include your requests as well as all the others' requests for homeless programs or for those people, in fact, impacted by homelessness to be prioritized in the budget. We will pass that along, and I'm sure our mayor will take those into consideration as she deliberates and decides how to propose and move forward with that budget for next year. You mentioned equality. There is an establishment of an office within the mayor's office for equality and inclusion. That's one of her first steps to address equality and inclusion. So there is now an arm within the mayor's office that addresses those concerns. As far as items and how capital items or items in general get determined in the budget, as the presentation went over, there's a process where we basically first look at how revenues are coming in, or estimate how revenues are coming in the current year, and look at the expenditures as well. And then once we figure out more or less how we're going to perform this year, then we make estimates of those budgets in future budget developments, so that we then determine whether they're in line with the services that we are currently providing, and anything that comes out as enhancement requests or additional funding that are identified in this process. And of course, the mayor identifying her priorities and from this input, then we will put those budget line items into the budget at the direction of the mayor. And ultimately, what gets proposed by the mayor gets submitted to the Board of County Commissioners for further deliberation, and they at the end have the ultimate decision-making power whether to accept the budget as is or make a modification or changes. I have 2 more. Your last question about the leadership and how to contact. Juan, I asked you to unmute your mic so you could explain the contact again. And I don't know after that, David, if you have anything else to add to these comments that I've just placed.
What I wanted to add is I heard a comment, I think from the last caller, about rental assistance, and I wanted to make note that the county was awarded a second leg of the rental assistance program that is being managed by the Public Housing and Community Development Department. And if you go to the COVID-19 programs link on miamidade.gov, you'll be able to view the details of that program and apply. If you meet the requirements, then someone will reach out to you and discuss the details, and you could be in the process. So I wanted to make sure that the last amount for rental assistance was approximately $60 million. So I wanted to make note of that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, and Juan, if you could again provide that content information for leadership that Genevieve has requested for.
Thanks, Genevieve. At this time, we don't currently have a specific way of communicating directly with the Thrive 305 process, with the exception of the existing survey. I will say that as we approach the next phase of this, which will be the community town halls, we will have something set up for direct communication. But if possible, I'd like to get in contact with you on some of the additional questions that you have offline.
Thank you, Juan. Okay, the next speaker I have is David Beltran. David Beltran, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Yes, good morning. My name is David Beltran, and my address is 153 Southeast 28th Place, Homestead, Florida 33033. Thank you, Madam Mayor and the chairs of this virtual town hall. I am commenting because I am worried about public safety in Miami-Dade County. I believe police and jails don't keep us safe, and the overwhelming amount we spend on policing is misallocated. We could be spending this money to build public housing and expand public transit as well as other social services. Therefore, I'm asking for this budget to please defund the police and cancel any plans to build new jails. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David, for your comments. Your funding priorities and setting will be noted and considered as part of our deliberations for next year's budget development process. The next speaker I have is Bay Lizette Gray. Bay Lizette Gray, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Greetings. I'm Baye Lizette of Baye Art Boutique Productions. I'm a renowned artist from Italy, Miami, New York, and South Carolina, exclusively located at 9484 Harding Avenue, Surfside, Florida 33154. www.bayeartboutique.com. Our three top power sources: tourists, locals, natives. We need to create a system combining them to create a greater impact on our future. Miami should be the best city in the world. An artistic, architectural, iconic monument is needed to represent the people. Art is the answer. Take new leads to this new direction of protecting and monitoring our community, detoxing Miami from domestic violence and destruction. Change the silent reputation. Change our ED, DCF, and PD systems. Vibrating the energy with colorful bus stops, adding more garbage cans and interactive activities for our women and children. Let's thrive with Detox Miami movement. We have to detox in order to thrive in 305. Detox Miami under Thrive 305. Thank you.
Thank you. Your comments and priorities that you stated have been noted, and we will take them into deliberation for next year's budget process. The next speaker I have is Rashida Alaman. Rashida Alaman, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record. Rashida.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak on the floor. I had a question about public housing, affordable housing. The rent currently is $1,600, I believe, for a 1-bedroom and/or a 2-bedroom in Miami-Dade County. I'm not sure if the budget committee is going to address how expensive rent is here in Miami, but I will specifically like for you guys to look into the communities that do offer public housing, and their income criteria is not up to date with HUD. I feel like they're using an old criteria. It's not up to date as of 2020 or 2021, how the HUD income limit has changed. There are some new developments that are allowing people to move in who are, I'm not going to say in compliance, but they do match the income level that HUD allows for people to move into public housing or affordable housing, but some are not. Some are still using outdated income criteria. And it's unfortunate because those who are trying to better themselves are forced to have to move out.
Okay, Rashida. Yes, so we have, as my director has previously said, there is a program that have been approved for the county for rental assistance and housing assistance. Those programs have been approved. So please, if we have your contact information, and we will provide you those links or how to get access to those information. And along, we will pass your request to revisit the criteria for housing and rental assistance as well. The next speaker I have, actually before I get to the next speaker, I don't have any more hands up. After this speaker, I'm going to go down and find the folks that were unavailable previously and try to get them back on. So, oh, we got some more speakers. Okay, more hands. Good. Maya Ragsdale, please open your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Maya Ragsdale, and my address is 7800 Carlisle Ave. I'm here with an organization called Beyond the Bars, which builds the power of and supports people whose loved ones are incarcerated in Miami jail facilities. Our members are struggling with the cost of phone calls out of the county jail system, paying up to thousands of dollars a month, while Corrections receives a 67% commission on every call. This is a massive amount of money at a time of job loss and eviction in our county, and our members are having to decide between paying rent and paying for a call between their child and their incarcerated parent. Our request is a line item in this year's budget to end the county's practice of generating revenue in this way and to cover the cost of the rest of these phone calls. And our question is, who is the best point of contact in your office to discuss this request?
Maya, you could contact me. My email address is sardui@miamidade.gov, and I'll be more than happy to address any questions you have. As far as your funding request to eliminate the phone call charges will be considered under the budget considerations for next year's priorities. The next person I have is Catherine Paisley. Catherine Paisley, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
John, the person has an older version of Zoom.
You're muted, John.
Sorry, Catherine. Please update your Zoom app on your whatever computer, laptop, or phone that you're using, and we will get back to you at the end. So if you can update your Zoom application on your hardware. The next person I have to speak is Sharoni Delvante. Sharoni Delvante, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, good morning. My name is Sharoni Delvante, and my address, is 275 Northwest 8th Street, Miami, Florida 33136. Representing Lotus House, also the Director of Operations. And as an alumni of the program itself, I can say with certainty that Lotus House is more than deserving of these funds. The children and mothers whose lives depend even benefit from these monies is crucial. It's a crucial reason itself. The support given creates chances for these families to build, to heal, and power through to betterness, which at one point seemed unreachable. So please consider, even if need be, reconsider Lotus House as a priority. These funds are needed terribly, and not even a penny will go to waste. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker I have is Evelyn Grissa Sullivan. Evelyn, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Evelyn Gagaris Sullivan. I'm the theater manager at Fantasy Theater Factory at the Sandrell Rivers Theater, and we're located at 6103 Northwest 7th Avenue in Liberty City, Miami. And I want to thank the mayor and the Board of County Commissioners for not only this opportunity to speak on the arts, but the funding and hopefully continued funding of the arts, which have allowed us not only to provide great educational programs in the school system, within the school system, at libraries, at community centers, at festival events, but we also do some really important programming at the Sandrell Rivers itself with our sensory-friendly shows, our free matinees, our low-cost and no-cost performances of music and comedy and theater. We're also able to provide summer camps at low cost and with half of our participants on scholarships. This funding is just so vital, not only to the community, but of course to the artists that provide this service, these services, and the staff member.
Thank you, Evelyn, for your comments. Your request for additional funding for our continual support of cultural programs has been noted. Next speaker I have is John Quick. John Quick, please unmute your mic, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, can you hear me this time?
Yes, sir, I could hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened before. Good morning, John Quick. I'm the president of the Parks Foundation of Miami-Dade. I live at 8520 Southwest 145th Street. First, I'd like to thank the mayor and the commission for their support of parks and prioritizing it in our county budget. The park system in Miami-Dade is a vital resource for our community, serving a diverse cross-section of community members year-round. Equally as important, our park system is an economic driver for our county. Given the quality of life emphasis being placed by employers and corporations around the country, our parks serve as a central component to attracting and retaining our corporate citizens and thereby expanding the economic and industrial footprint of our county. In that same vein, the programming created and administered by our wonderful Parks Director, Maria Nardi, and our indispensable staff will be keys to combating the growing wealth gap in our county. Whether through youth internship programs or the introduction of educational opportunities, our park systems will be there to ensure greater and more equal opportunities are available to all county residents. Investment in our park system really is an investment in all of us and in all aspects of our county. Everybody wins when you invest in our parks. So I want to thank our mayor and Board of County Commissioners for its continued support of the park system. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for your comments. And as noted before, the request for continuing support of the park system has been noted and will be taken into account as we deliberate as part of next year's budget development process. The next speaker I have is Cameron Basden. Cameron Basden, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Cameron Basden, Artistic Director of the Miami Dance Hub at 6017 Southwest 16th Street in West Miami. Nonprofits in the arts generate $166.3 billion of activity a year. That's $27.5 billion in state, federal, and local tax revenue. And in Florida, that is close to 300,000 jobs. The arts reach all communities, affect all ages, and feed our souls. This past year has been challenging in so many ways for everyone, but the arts and artists who have been devastatingly affected throughout the world have continued to create. Many thanks to the Miami-Dade County Department of Cultural Affairs, the Miami Foundation, and numerous grants, it has been possible to survive. The arts will be one of the strongest elements needed as we recover from COVID to unify and rebuild. So I advocate for continued funding and your trusting support for arts and culture. Thank you.
Thank you. Your request for continuing funding has been noted. Next speaker, Leandro de Armas. Leandro de Armas, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, I'm Leandro de Armas. I live at 18766 Southwest 78th Court, Color Bay, Florida 33157. Recently, the Miami-Dade County Public School Board pledged to begin converting its polluting fleet of diesel buses into an electric one with zero emissions. I'd like next year's budget to reflect these ongoing efforts and allocate money towards decarbonizing existing public transit. I'd also like the county to incorporate energy efficiency strategies as they look to expand the reach, frequency, and accessibility of future public transit through the Better Bus Project and other initiatives of the Transit Alliance. Improvements to public transit should include efforts to reduce its emissions, energy use, and dependence on fossil fuels. Thank you for your time and consideration of everyone's requests.
Thank you, Leandro. We have noted your request to prioritize decarbonization of the fleets. Next speaker I have is Catherine Pasley. Catherine Pasley, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for your time. My name is Catherine Pasley. I live at 21051 San Simeon Way, Miami, Florida, 33179. I just would like to advocate for funding for criminal justice reform, re-entry services, and the possibility of funding for a council of outside organizations for corrections to oversee conditions in the jail cells, as well as the grievance processes.
Thank you, Catherine. Your comments and requests have been noted. Next speaker that I have is Christine Lyle. Christine Lyle, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record. Okay, Christine, looks like we can't get a hold of you. Simone Hugh, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record. Okay, Simone, looks like you're also unavailable. All right, that is all that I have for the speakers. I want to thank everyone who has participated in these meetings. As we have stated through the whole presentation, these meetings, these town halls have been basically put together to provide an opportunity for the citizens and residents of this county to participate in the development, next year's budget development. We want to again thank everyone who has participated. We will get back to those individuals who had questions directly using the contact information that they provided. And again, all the requests that have been submitted for prioritization or inclusion into the budget process have been noted, and we will use them and consider them as we deliberate and develop next year's budget. With that said, I want to thank everyone again, and I guess good morning and goodbye. Ciao.